If you're someone suffering with numbness in your fingers and it doesn't seem to make sense, like you're reading and you're like, this doesn't sound like carpal tunnel, this doesn't sound like cubital tunnel, but everyone wants to do surgery and everyone wants me to wear a splint, and it doesn't make sense because something is not working. My name is Huang. I'm an occupational therapist and certified hand therapist, and I hear that a lot in my own clinic. And I'm going to share some of those stories, but I'm also going to try and make it make sense a little bit for you, okay? If you haven't seen the carpal tunnel and the cubital tunnel videos, I've made a ton of those videos, so go check it out, and you can leave me questions because your questions help me to create more videos just like this for you. If you have numbness throughout your fingers and it doesn't make sense that it's only one nerve or the other nerve, it might be coming from your neck. So I always tell my own patients, when I'm working with you and you have some kind of numbness or tingling in your fingers, I'm always going to check your hand all the way up your arm, your elbow, your shoulder, and also I'm going to take a look at your neck because the nerves come out of our neck, come down our shoulders. So it's really important to look through and say, well, where is the problem that's, causing that numbness? When it comes to nerves, you feel the sensation down here, but the problem starts somewhere else. And then, because that is just the nature of nerve types of injuries. I didn't make this, everyone's body is the same. If you break a bone, you break your bone here, you're broken right here. You're not broken anywhere else. When it comes to nerves, the problem is always above where you feel it. You feel it in your hands, it's above. If you feel it only right here, it's above this area, right? So let me break it down to you and share with you why it might be a neck issue versus just a median nerve, which is carpal tunnel, or an ulnar nerve, which is cubital tunnel. So if we have carpal tunnel, it's gonna cross the wrist. If we have cubital tunnel, it crosses the elbow. That nerve crosses right there. When you bend it, it really stretches that nerve and can cause numbness in this finger, the small finger, and half of this one. If it's the median nerve, the compression is at the nerve here. It can also be a compression at the nerve at the shoulder, but it's going to make you feel numb and tingling in these three fingers, the thumb, index finger, long finger, and then half of the ring finger. Now, if you feel it everywhere and you feel it on the back of your hand, it might be coming from the neck. The nerves that come out, they're called dermatomes, without going into very specific anatomy breakdown of it, because you don't need to know that. You just want to be like, Huang, someone fix me, make it make sense. That's what I'm here to do. If you feel sensory stuff, nerve issues to your thumb, whether it's on the back to the tip, but nothing else really, this is C6, right? So I'm gonna start at the neck. If you look down, you're gonna have this bump right here. This bump that you feel, everyone has that bump. When you bend, that bump sticks out. That is C7. So where C7 is, then C6 sits on top, right? So if you think about these bones, they're like stacks and stacks of ice cream sandwiches. They're stack on stack of ice cream sandwiches. And the bone is the sandwich part, right? The cookie part. And then the disc in between is the ice cream part, right? So stay with me here. So sometimes those ice cream sandwiches, right? The sandwiches, they don't move. Those bones, those joints don't move the way that they're supposed to, and they can get really stiff and they can get really stuck, and one stack on top of another. So C6 is this one, and your long finger as well. Your index finger as well. So his thumb and the index finger belongs to essentially C6. C7 is your middle finger. So if you can imagine, C6 is all up that arm. So I was working with someone and I had her check her arms because one arm feels worse than the other. So if we want to determine if it's a neck issue, we can test from a sensory standpoint along this dermatome path, right? So we were able to determine like, oh, all the sensation over here belongs to C6. C7 belongs to the middle finger, and then the ring and the small finger, the dermatome here, all on the inside of it, including the inside of your forearm into your tricep, that is going to be C8. So C8, so that knob that you have is 7, and then that space under there is 8, right? And then your armpit is actually the thoracic. So if you kind of think about it, your spine works like this, right? So this is your big, so I always compare the spine a little bit to how the hand works, right? So if this is your big knuckle and this is your middle knuckle and this is your little knuckle, in order for your fist, in order for your hand to move really well, you have to be able to bend all the knuckles and then be able to open all of them. It takes big muscles to open and close it, and then it takes small little muscles to open and close it. It has to be a combination of all of those things, right? The joints have to move, the big muscles have to move, the little muscles have to move, and they have to move in a way that's like coordinated. Your spine is essentially the same thing. This is your lumbar spine, this is your thoracic spine, this is your cervical spine. So they sit all stacked up on top of each other. And then we have big muscles that move things, and then we have little itty bitty muscles that move and give us support and stability and all that good stuff. Everything has to move really well. When you have neck issues or you have numbness in your fingers, one of the reasons why people come to me, drive very far to me. I currently have someone I'm working with right now. She drives over an hour and a half to come and see me because she had numbness in her fingers, and they were able to say, no, you don't have carpal tunnel, which is great because I told her normally when people come see me, they've had carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel, neck surgery, and then they're like, okay, well, what do I do now? She only had neck surgery. And she had the neck surgery, and it's not wrong that she had it. I will never say that's wrong. She needed it. She made that decision, but she made that decision also because her hands were really numb. She's a musician. She does a lot of stuff with her hands. Her work requires a lot of typing. She's using her hands constantly. And what was happening was her hands were going numb, and she just really couldn't function. They were hurting. They were weak. So they told her it was a neck issue. She went and had the neck surgery. It's been over a year, and she has not had any relief of the symptoms of her hands. And so because of that, now all of a sudden they're saying it's carpal tunnel. It's carpal tunnel. Let's do bilateral carpal tunnel surgery and call it a day, and you'll be fine. And she was like really skeptical about it because she just was like, well, you told me if I fix my neck, I would fix my hands, and that hasn't happened. She's gone to therapy, it hasn't worked. And here's one of the reasons why I share with you is because if you go and you have a neck issue, right? Remember, this is the lumbar spine, there's the lower back, upper back, and your neck, right? Everything has to move well in order to be able to move and function. So when she was going to therapy, they were only focused on her neck and strengthening, like bands and all that, exercises. But these bones were not moving well. You can have a fusion, and the bones that are fused are not expected to move, but the bones that are below and above still need to move, right? And the muscles still need to move, and they need to move well. So what I found, probably digressing a little bit, was if you only work the cervical spine, then and not pay attention to the lumbar and the upper back, your neck cannot get any better. And then you will continue with numbness, thinking that you did something wrong, thinking that the surgeon did something wrong, but it's just the order in which you do things, I think, makes a big difference. So let me share with you what I shared with her. One of the first things that I shared with her to do, and it's working your thoracic spine, right? And also you can do this to work your, to kind of like straighten out your lumbar spine too. But I have all these props because I was gonna show you a bunch of different ones. But here is a really quick and easy one. I show it in two ways. I usually show it, one of the best ways to do it is when you're lying down, right? But we can't lay down all day long. So I'm gonna show how you can do it sitting up as well. So I'm going to show you how you can stretch that middle part, that thoracic spine, just when you're relaxing and sleeping. Get a bath towel. I folded it in half the long ways, in half again, and then I'm going to roll it up. It does not need to be fancy. You can buy a roller, but you might not need it forever. So just roll up this towel and don't make excuses for why you can't do this. Right? Oh, let me lay down. You want a pillow to support your neck, but not underneath your shoulders. And you want this roller to sit, if you think about it, right where your armpit is, because that's in the middle part of your thoracic spine. All right? Oh my God, and just lay like that. Just relax. Part of what the towel is doing is it's going to extend that thoracic spine, meaning it's going to open it up. We sit all day hunched forward, and so this position helps us to open up a little bit. That's it. That's as easy as it can get. Now, if you want to combine it, you bend your knees, put your foot down flat, right? You see this space right here? See this bone? This is your pelvic bone. And sometimes we sit like this all day and the bone sticks straight up and there's all this space in between, right? So we're gonna lower that down and take that bone and drive it down into the mat. These are called pelvic tilts, right? These are called pelvic tilts. So you can just tilt like that, up and down. You've probably seen that exercise a million times over. There's a couple of nuances to it, but if you have numbness in your fingers and it's because you're tight in your thoracic spine, do it with this towel right there so it can open you up a little bit more, okay? All right, the other one I wanted to show you how to do is in sitting, because most of the time we're sitting up. You can grab that same towel. I love using towels. I know some people are gonna be like, can you share the link of where I can buy this? Y'all people love buying gadgets, and that's okay. I'll include the link somewhere, but they're just little soft pillow rollers, like Mackenzie foam rollers and things like that, like lumbar spine. So, oh my God, I have one of those. But one of the things that I like to do is I like to take a towel. You can also use a half foam roller. This is a short half foam roller, and you're gonna stick it either perpendicular to your spine, or you can stick it parallel to your spine. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like if we're doing perpendicular. So you should have a chair that's a little bit higher than this. I'm just gonna put this here. And you want it to sit right towards the bottom of your shoulder blade or in the middle. Clasp your hands together, put it behind your neck, elbows fall together, and then you're gonna go into what's called thoracic extension, right? It's gonna go into thoracic extension. Let me show you what that looks like if I were to face you, and that foam roller is sitting right there. Clasp your hands together, put it behind your neck, and you don't want your elbows like this. You want your elbows to actually just fall forward, and then you're going to drive your elbows, think about your elbows, drive it up to the ceiling, right? Drive it up to the ceiling. So that is also called thoracic extension. If you don't have one of these doohickeys, you can fold up a towel and it can give you the same results, right? A really thick towel. Perpendicular, you can put it parallel. If you put it parallel, it's going to sit right in between your shoulder blades. And that one is nice because it just makes sure that your shoulder blades get squared back and nice and relaxed. And you can do the same, essentially the same movement called thoracic extension. So if you have numbness, in your fingers and you're not really sure where it's coming from, these videos can be really informative, but the most important thing I can tell you is to go find an occupational therapist or a physical therapist that's willing to look at everything and how it moves instead of just hyper focusing on one area, because every joint affects the next one that is like painful right now or causing problems right now. So just because you have a neck issue doesn't mean I'm just gonna sit here and move your neck. If your whole hand isn't working, I'm not just gonna sit here and move that one knuckle. I wanna make sure in order for you to function well, I gotta work the joint above and below and make sure the little muscles work together with the big muscles so that everything can move really well, pain-free, and get rid of your numbness. Try to help you avoid surgery. So find someone who's really great in your area. If you're in Miami, I'm here in Miami, Hands-On Therapy Services. But really go to someone who will look and take a look at everything versus just hyper focusing on one area, because in order to get great results and avoid things like that, like I'm helping my one patient because she's already had neck surgery. I'm just helping her avoid the neck surgery, which is surgeons, recommending. And if I saw that she needed it, I'd be the first one to recommend it. But after only 3 sessions, she's able to do a lot of the exercises on her own and she's able to see the results. So if that can happen for her, I think it can happen for you too. If you have questions, leave me a comment. Otherwise, subscribe and follow for more.